So I'm out behind the shop, and what I just did is got the forklift back from the guy that's using it, and first of all moved my trailer back here so that I could clean it up, but I also had to decrib it. I had left all the cribbing on from when I hauled that generator, the large generator from Detroit, back down to Shingle House, Pennsylvania. And I had left the cribbing screwed down there, so I've got it back here to get it cleaned up and decrib it. I'm gonna take all the cribbing out of my thing rack and make sure that it's all good. Take all the screws and everything out of it so that it's ready to go, and get it organized in there. That's just my adapter goes on the forklift so that I can move the trailer around the parking lot. I've got to put that back in the shop. Just as a part of a little shop update, these are the 4x4s out of my trailer that I use for cribbing or dunnage to put under loads. I just brought them in here because I wanted to wash that dunnage tray out yesterday. So what I did is took it all out. They were kind of wet anyways from the last haul of that big generator. I took them all out and just brought them in the shop and let them dry out. These 4x4s and 2x4s I use for blocking. Sometimes if I've got a truck or something up on the trailer, I'll actually chalk them up under the wheels and screw them down. Or if like the generators, the big generators, I'll use them for like a berm, to build a berm to keep it from shifting from side to side or from end to end. Just screw them down to the trailer. What I did is I brought them in, and the 2x4s that were underneath the 4x4s were getting pretty chewed up from having multiple screws screwed through them. So what I did is replace the 2x4, kept the 4x4, and just put new 2x4s down there so that when I screwed it down to the trailer bed, it would hold better, have less tear out from the old ones. But anyways, I just thought I'd show that to you. Just as part of a little shop update, you've seen these generators that are sitting here on these skids on my trailer before. Well, what I had to do is actually take them off the trailer to move a generator from the Detroit area down to Pennsylvania. It was a fairly large generator. I'll put a pick up here of it. It was a large generator because it's one of those gen sets that has a fuel tank, the diesel fuel tank underneath it. So, it was so tall that I had to have them remove the exhaust system or the muffler and piping system off of the top of it so that I stayed under the 13'6" requirement for DOT height requirement. But anyways, so what I did is I took these gensets off and left them out in the parking lot, thinking that this guy from Minnesota would be wanting me to bring him out there fairly soon. He was talking about some other deals that he was going to try and make and get another couple of generators on the trailer with these things so that I could make another trip out to Minnesota, but that hasn't panned out. So here they said I actually ended up bringing them out of the parking lot because they were getting buried in snow at the time. Since then it's warmed up, but and the snow's kind of melted out of the parking lot. But what I did is I for two reasons: to get them out of the snow so that the plow people had a place to plow snow to, and to keep them out of theft's way. But here they sit in my shop. they're, it's kind of a pain to have them in here in the shop, but they're on skids, so if I need to move them, I can move them fairly easily. But I just kind of wanted to show that to you. I've got some other hauls that I've got to make. This is coming up on Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving week. I have 3 hauls scheduled, so I don't think that it's going to happen all on Thanksgiving week. Right now, we're trying to get one of them scheduled for the following week. That would be another generator set down to Philadelphia. Actually, it's kind of inner city Philadelphia, and a genset going in a high-rise building. A genset that's going to be going in a high-rise building dedicated just for elevator, emergency elevator power. But anyways, yeah, there's that. And I'll bring you back with other stuff. One of the things that I'm doing is on the trailer, there's one of those 3/4 inch lights there. It was a red light. Take you around to the other side and show it to you. Somehow it got pushed back in. When I put the lights on the other day, I noticed that it wasn't there when I did a walk around on the trailer before I did a haul. Wasn't there, but I could see it glowing on the inside of the tube. Not really sure how the hell that happened. I'm not sure at all how it happened. But anyways, what I'm trying to do is get the tail light, because it is tube steel, and I'm trying to get the tail light out so that I can get in there, push that back through. So what happened is the lens on that tail light cracked a little bit by me trying to get it out. I don't know what happened. It probably is something to do with the cold. But what I want to do is have another one on hand in case that does break, getting it out to push that thing back in. I'd rather wait, have another one on hand, because I don't want that tail light out. You're more susceptible to getting stopped by cops for having that light out than you would for that light being pushed back in there. So let me get another one. I'll bring you back when I fix it. So I'm over here by my compressors, and the Ingersoll Rand compressor, the tan one in the back, is the one that is primarily used. And I don't have airlines in the shop. When I first moved into the shop, there wasn't even lights. Well, there was 2 fixtures in this entire shop. The guy that had the shop before me had used it as he did scrapping. He did metal scrapping from some industries around here. Picked up like scrap aluminum, scrap, not so much scrap steel, but scrap aluminum, brass, stuff like that, motor windings and stuff. A lot of magnets, small magnets. I don't know where they came from, but anyways, I regress. There's no airlines in here. I haven't gotten around to running airlines. Not sure what I want to do. Everybody is telling me to use PEX, but if you go and look at PEX specs, there's 2 things. The PEX is coiled, has a higher pressure rating than the straight PEX. And the straight PEX is only, well, it's listed on the side of the pipe is rated for 100 psi. The last time I looked at it in a like a box store, a lumber store, I'm not sure if it was Lowe's or Home Depot, whichever. And I really didn't want to use it because we had used something similar to PEX in the fire protection industry. It's not PEX, wasn't PEX. It's a piping that's listed for fire protection. It's actually CPVC piping, and it's only made by one company in the United States. But regardless of that, there used to be extreme issues with putting air pressure on plastic piping, and I'm not really sure why. To me, pressure is pressure, whether it's hydraulic or water pressure versus air pressure. I'm not really sure of what that is, but let's get to the point here. This green compressor, a much larger compressor, much larger volume on it, I bought in an auction, and what it is 223 phase. And I have 3-phase in my shop, but the issue was with this thing. There was this huge panel on the wall that had this, and it held a bunch of relays, not a motor starter, but actually relays. And it was for this, the pressure switch. The pressure switch is a single-phase 110 pressure switch. So what you have to do is either get relays, a motor starter, or something like that. And what I ended up getting was, it's called a contactor, and it does the same thing as a motor starter. It doesn't provide that load protection that a motor starter does. But I'm not really concerned about. There's breakers on the breakers on it to begin with. I'm not really concerned about the motor overheating, motor drawing too much load. So one of the reason why I want to get this going again, actually, I called a company. I had gone to an electrical supply house and told them that I was looking for a starter or relays or something for this purpose, and they said, well, we really don't carry those things, but there's a company downtown in Buffalo that you should contact, and they would have it. So I called them about a year ago and asked them about it, and they told me they were going to get back to me, and they never got back to me, and I kind of actually forgot about it because it wasn't a priority issue. So a friend of mine had an electric motor that he had to take down to him to have him rebuild it, and I says, Jesus, when you go down there, yell at them, say that they were supposed to call me back, and they never called me back, and this is what I'm looking for. And what I did is took a picture of the nameplate off of the motor and told them the 110 pressure switch on the cutoff for it. And they came up with this contactor. Now, again, I had never heard of a contactor before this. They gave it to me, but the thing was really cheap. It was only $20 or $25 or something like that. A lot less. I'm going to have to get a box for it, and then run 3-phase over to the compressor. But what I wanted to do is get these. I'm going to hook the compressors into a common line and then run some piping out in the shop for airlines. And let me shut you off and I'll show you what I've got. Now, I bought these 2 air reels, and that's kind of why I want to get going on this piping thing again. But they're a lot bigger volume than the air hoses that I have now. Hopefully you can see that there's some light through that tubing, the green tubing, but the volume is a lot bigger than the air I have now. Now this is a smaller one. Below it is a 1/2-inch hose reel. And I'm going to mount them 2 reels up in there. The reason I have the 1/2-inch hose reel is I have a 3/4-inch impact and might be picking up a 1-inch impact at some point in time. But my air supply being choked down by the smaller hoses and the restricted volume coming out of that Ingersoll Rand compressor. It's only a half inch outlet on it, and it's I think it's 3/8 hose that it's coming through, but it's choked down to, I think, quarter actually with the fittings. Really reduces the flow into that impact, and you don't get the impact effect that you should be getting out of a 3/4 or a 1-inch. If I had a 1-inch impact with the choke down lines, you really need a bigger volume on it. So that's what that hose reel is for. And some people might think it's kind of stupid to buy a big hose reel just for the few times that you use 3/4 or 1-inch impact. But what I can do is I'll get a reducer piece of hose so that I can plug into the bigger coupling on the 1/2-inch line and reduce it down to a normal size coupling on my other air tools or blowguns, whatever you have. But there again, it's just part of a shop update, and these two things, I want to get this thing done this winter while I'm here. The only problem is I need that lift back again from the landlord, and I don't know where it is. It's not in his shop, but I will get a hold of him and see if I can get it back. I want to fix some of the light fixtures up here too. So that one up there is a 8-foot fluorescent tube fixture, and as you can see, the bulbs are going on it. But I want to get rid of them and go to the LEDs, and I'm kind of thinking I picked up that fixture, which is an LED fixture, a 2x2 LED fixture, fairly cheap, and I think it was from Home Depot. But I was wanted to replace some of these older style. Again, when I moved into the shop, it's going on 4 years ago now. There was only 2 fixtures in this entire shop. All of those lights over there, the landlord put in to begin with, and they're not LED, but they're a new style fluorescent fixture, more energy efficient fluorescent fixture that they had at the time. LEDs at the time he was doing that were extremely expensive, and he didn't want to do it, and as everyone knows, they've come way down in price. So I want to get that done too, is put a couple of LED fixtures over here and a couple of LED fixtures over here. Maybe even, when I say over here, this side of the lift and the other side of the lift. And maybe even get a couple of them that shine a little bit sideways too. This is getting dark over here because the fixtures are, those LED lights are, I'm sorry, those fluorescent lights are starting to burn out there. But anyways, that's one of the things for the shop update. I'm going to put this video out, and I'm going to put out a haul truck video because I've had a couple of days, almost a week, tell you the truth, of no hauling. So, but all of a sudden, I've got a bunch of hauls that I've got to make, and it's picking up. I'm not really sure why, but it does run in spurts like that. One of the things I'm not sure of, if anybody's interested in it, sometimes in the past, I have thrown the camera in the windshield of the truck and shot some footage of driving, and I'm not sure whether you guys like that or not. So just leave a comment below if you guys want to see that again or not. When I did it the first couple of times that I did it, it really didn't get very many hits on it as far as views. So I'm not sure if it's really something people want to see or not. Of course, the generators that have got to go back to Minnesota at some point in time. But he wants to get another haul to go with those generators to make it worth his while. I'll bring you back. One last thing before I let you go. There's a couple of outstanding projects that I've got going, and that I made a separate video on them. One of them is involving the gauges that I installed in my truck, the glow shift gauges, and I just want to let you guys know that there will be another video coming out as soon as I get the issue rectified, let's call it. But anyways, there will be another video coming out on that fairly soon.